Hi everyone, welcome back. I've had people saying to me, can I just do some simple, straightforward, how to get the sides of a right angle triangle, put the numbers in the formula and no great details about it. So here we go. When we've got a right angle triangle, one side is the longest, and I can talk about what that means and all sorts of things. This side here, I keep talking about over and over again the Mr. Bean method. If I looked at that, that's that long. So if I brought it down here, you can see this side's shorter than that one. And if I brought it down here, you can see that side, or even if I did this, that side there is shorter, that side there is shorter, and we're just saying that's the longer side. Now, people have different letters for it. Most of the time, I prefer to write as H. And the reason I use H is the proper name for that is hypotenuse. So there's a lot of people don't remember hypotenuse, but talking about H for hypotenuse, your math teacher might use C. So a lot of people talk about A, B and C. So it's up to you if you use H or if you use C. Then we have these other sides called A and B. So it doesn't matter which one's A and which one's B. So the hypotenuse is the longer side. There's other things you can talk about. It's opposite that little box, and that little box means that that's 90 degrees and it's a right angle, and I often talk about it's not a wrong angle. So when I look around my room here, a lot of my corners of the room have an angle like that. If you look at the corner of a book, corner of a textbook, corner of a lot of carpets, doesn't matter what you're looking at, it's a right angle. So opposite the right angle, there's a hypotenuse. This formula someone come up with, well, it's really an understanding. If I get that 4 and I square it, and I get that 5 and I square it, it so happens that it equals the hypotenuse squared, the longer side squared. Now I can, on another video, I think I'll go back and make a more basic one and show you how they work. For now, I just need some that my classes can look at and understand. So that's the hypotenuse. So I replace the H by an X, and that's an X squared. Doesn't matter which one's A, I'm going to call that one A, so that's 4 with a squared. And that one I'm going to call B, which is 5 with a squared, and I'm going to add them together. So without lots of mucking around, 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 5 is 25. And we've got this unusual situation where we've got this X squared equals, and I'm going to add that up to 41. So if I looked at that, when you're solving equations, how do we get rid of a squared? We take a square root. Not going to nag about it here, I can talk about that in other videos. So we get the square root of 41. And what does the square root of 41 mean? What number times by itself, here we have it here, what number times itself will give us 41. So the square root is what number times itself will give us 41. Now I can talk about that at length, but not here. So I've put it into my calculator, I've got the answer written over here. So in your calculator you find the square root button, put in the 41, press equals, and you come out with this number that looks like this, 6.40312, and it goes on forever. Now I'm going to look at that number and see what it really is. If your teacher said they wanted 1 decimal place, maybe with my peekaboo method again, I cover all those numbers over, and it looks like it's 6.4. It could be 6.5 if we round it off to 1 decimal. If I look at the next number, it's a little number, so it doesn't round up to 5, it stays 6.4, and if you want to, you can even just rub them off and go, that's 6.4. And if we're talking about meters, that's meters. Now, before I forget, obviously that's not actually 4 meters. We're talking about if I went out and I measured something and I need to know the answer, that's what it is. Let's go through this one a little bit quicker. H squared equals A squared plus B squared. Which one is H? That one's the hypotenuse. You can see it's the longest. It's opposite that little box. So that's an X squared. Now this one, I'm going to call that one A, so I put a 10 squared. And then this one I'm calling B, so I put a 4 squared. So that's 100, and that's 16. And I've got 116. So I've got this thing of what number times itself is 116. So a long time ago they defined that as being the square root of 116. And on my answer over here, I've got that written as 10.77032, and lots more decimals. I want to mention a few of the decimals so you realise there's just lots there. And again, if your teacher said that they wanted it to, here's where I often talk about 1 dp, 1 decimal place. So they wanted that to 1 decimal place. Is this going to be closer to 10.7 or is it going to be closer to 10.8? So I look at the 1 digit, the one next to it. It's a big one. It's bigger than 5. So that becomes not 10.7, it's closer to 10.8. So if I rub that off now, I can just say, well, that is 10.8, and if it was centimetres, I'd call that 1 centimetres. Now at that point, some of you go, got it, don't need to watch anymore. This is a special one. Anyone who knows what they're doing will look at this and go, why is this one special? So I go the same thing again. I'll turn the triangle around and make it look a little bit different. This is still the longest one, so that's H. Call that one A, call that one B, and put the right numbers in the right place. So that's an X, which becomes an X squared. And then you've got the other two, so it's a 3 squared and a 4 squared. Nice at 3 times 3, take your time. 3 3s are 9, 4 4s are 16, so we've got 25. Now I've got this little question. Maybe this will make the square roots a bit more obvious for some people. What number times itself will give you 25? And a lot of you would be instantly thinking, well, it's just 5. Let me write it properly. If I want to get rid of a square, when I've got an equation, I get the square root. I could be fussy and say this once. If I get the square root of this side, I get the square root of that side, and these are called square, so they're called square and square root. And the reason why they're called square and square root is they're the opposites of each other. So a square root is the opposite of a square, the square is the opposite of a square root, so they cancel each other out. And when they cancel each other out, it just becomes an X. Now I'm asking what number times itself is 25, I call it what's. What's a 25, and most people would be okay, and they come at that one and they would say, it's 5, and we had metres. And so what's interesting about this one, it turned out to be exactly 5. Not decimals, but exactly 5. And this one is the simplest one that we can possibly make up. 3, 4, and 5, where they're all whole numbers. And there are lots and lots of them. I hope it helps. If you get a chance to press like makes such a difference. If you want to support me, press like. If you really want to support me, I'm looking to get 1,000 subscribers. YouTube takes no notice of me unless I've got 1,000 subscribers. So maybe for 1,000 subscribers, long way to go at this stage. But I've picked up quite a lot recently. Thanks you to all the people who have subscribed. That's really helpful. I hope you've enjoyed it and it's helpful to you. Thanks very much.